Hello everyone, my name is Florentina Perschy and I'm currently working as an account director at Ketchum Publico, a communication agency located in Vienna. I'm very happy to be part of AIR and to be talking about communication today, especially since we at Ketchum Publico are somehow a left brain, right brain agency, and that means for our client, we combine strategic thinking with award-winning ideas and of course implementation. Our team at Ketchum Publicum is part of the Ketchum Network, one of the world's leading communication consultancies. This is one of the reasons why we are always one step ahead in terms of trends and innovations, and have also a broad portfolio of clients, which I will be talking about today. So in this video, I will give you an overview of the most important communication basics, from messaging to target groups as well, and show you a few tools that we are using at Ketchum Publicum that could be useful for you, and also some hands-on examples from social stand-ups and enterprises that we worked with in the past. So let's start with objectives. You have to realize that there are great differences within communication goals. The communication goals are very important for your strategy and can be divided into short-term and long-term objectives. While working on your strategy, the long-term goals become more important. So one of the most common goals for your communication can be increasing the level of awareness of your organization or the service you provide. It can also mean building, improving, or changing your image, addressing new target groups, opening up new markets, motivation of your employees, or changing the climate of opinion. Once your goals are set, the appropriate KPIs are assigned, because only with a measurable goal you can even prove that your goal has been successful. So you define a KPI for each communication goal, and you also define which tools you use to measure your KPI. The great thing about objectives are that your next steps are kind of automatically fixed. So you have to start thinking about your image, your market, or your social status. And just as every communication expert should set measurable goals, the messaging are also taking a big role in your communication. So with news and PR messages, like any other services, they require a focus on benefits and the user, so your reader. In order to survive the selection by the media and achieve publication, certain components of your news items are in particular relevance. Number one, the topicality. So the more topical, the better. The longer the event in question has been in the past successful, the less successful the reporting will be. Number two, the severity of consequences. Interests in a news item increase with the number of people affected. So if it's important for the greater public, it will be more successful. The proximity. So incidents that are very local get more attention than those that occur in great distance. So PR at the location is more important. Drama. Drama and suspense are important elements of a news item. It is not without reason that in some places more than 50% of all the books sold revolve about romance and drama. Next one, curiosity. So readers are interested and occupied with curious, original, and unique cases. And last but not least, the progress. So at the same time, new technologies generate more attention and of course, greater news value. When you think about the messaging, the next step is the target group. So determination of the target group is of great importance in order to draw attention to your services and events in the right environment. In this context, it is effective to address multipliers, opinion leaders with the appropriate reach, so to involve them in the communication. So while your company or your organization stands in the middle, you have a lot of target groups kind of revolving around you. So think about your employees, your possible clients, investors, public, users, the politics, society, neighbors, and of course, journalists. But in addition to that, there are so many other possible target groups. It can be offices, authorities, schools, technical colleagues, or even your competitors can become target groups. Ultimately, each company is individual and differs from other companies and has its own target group. So they must be identified. So the most important question when determining the target groups relevant for your company is, which groups or persons do I want to go and get into touch with? So in practice, their following procedure has proven very successful at Ketchum Publico. Number one, you have to list all your target groups. Number two, you have to set priorities. So which are more important than the others, and where do you have the available resources? Number 3, you have to define your target group more precisely. So usually the target groups can be divided into subgroups and then can be addressed separately. It's very important to divide them because the communication has to be different. And last but not least, you have to choose the instruments with which the target groups have to be selected. So each target group has their own instruments and their own way in communication. This leads us right away to the next topics, the channels and the media. So let's say you have your objectives, you have your messages, and your target group is now set. But what happens next? Because the diversity of communication is greater today than ever before. Anyone who wants to use the channels successfully must both know the rules and the game of content and the form of the various channels. Because public relations are so much more than media relations. To successfully reach all target groups in today's media world, you have to use different channels. And here I can introduce you to the first tool we always use at Ketchum Publico. It's called PESO. PESO separates the channels in 4 different areas: paid media, earned media, owned media, and shared media. So what does that mean in detail? Paid media, that is everything paid social media amplification. That can mean Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Google ads, of course, search engine optimization, and so on. Earned media, that is everything traditional and online impressions. So this can mean press clippings that are so in print or online. It can mean influencer relations, Q&As, expert interviews, and so on. Owned media is kind of self-explanation. It's website and apps. It's everything you own yourself, like intranet, social media channels, or a newsletter. Shared media is like snackable content or social optimized content. Often it's also user-generated content, so everything that can be reused and reshared on social media. So how can PESO work in real life? So let's look at an example. We use Discovering Hands. Discovering Hands trains blind and visually impaired women to become medical examiners and to use them in early detection of breast cancers. We use this company as best practice as their communication is extremely coherent and consistent. They use a very nice visual language and design, and their usage of different channels fits very well with PESO. So they use social media and Facebook by generating user-generated ads and targeting. Earned media is covered by their press clippings. They are sending out press releases, and they're doing a lot of expert interviews. They also have their own website, of course, and Facebook and Instagram, that is owned media. And finally, shared media consists of their user-generated content on their social media. They have a lot of influencers they work with, and they are tagging them and creating content. Later on, they are sharing it, so this is like shared media. Last but not least, we also use a special technique to find the important and relevant content, and this is called RISC. RISC means using different techniques and different tools for the best outcome. So here we always start with R. R stands for research. Research is such an important part of all your communication projects. We use different tools for researching, for example, the database social listening tool WebLizard, or Story Clash, or influencer databases. Those are all very, very good. I can recommend it, and it's very important to start with a profound research, because after the research you get insights, and the more insights you get, the better. Whether it's about your target group, your service, or something else. The more insights you have, the better your outcome will be, because you can really communicate on point. The next letter is S. S is for strategy, as it's such an important step in communication. And finally, the C means creative. Creativity is an incredibly important part. Never forget to be creative. At Ketchum Publico, we also use different tools and workshops for creativity. I can recommend, for example, the Creativity School, Storyworks, or Idea Shop. Now let's get to our examples. So for the next part of this video, I will show you some examples from our work and also other best practice from social media and enterprises. Number 1 is the Rockets Holding. The Rockets Holding is Austria's pioneer and at the same time the most successful provider of crowdfunding. More than a third of the domestic crowdfunding volume is handled annually through the platforms of the Rockets Group. So right now there are 3 platforms: Green Rocket for ecologically oriented and sustainable startups, Home Rocket for real estate projects, and Lion Rocket for established small and medium-sized enterprises. So over the year, we supported the launch of Home Rocket and Blind Rocket by positioning the topic crowdfunding in Austria and doing ongoing media work for rockets. We did measures like press conferences, interviews, story setting, and crisis communication. The results showed that our approach is working. We could position Rockets as the leading crowdfunding provider and had continuous large area media presence with more than 250 clippings in public and trade media about the company and the fundings. Home Rocket actually started off with the funding records right from the start and became the clear market leader in Austria. The next example is Zeitpolster or time cushion. Zeitpolster was actually the first impact investment for Green Rocket. This means investments with social added value, because more and more people not only want to achieve a financial return on their investment, but also create ecological and socially added value. So here our key takeaway for this project was the establishment and the maintenance of key journalists network, as well as setting up, maintaining and updating a press distribution list. We did story pitching for this relevant crowdfunding project and had interviews with selected key journalists. Again, this led to a broad coverage and we were able to support their goals for the projects. Last but not least, I want to talk about eFriends. As a worldwide pioneer for energy trading and energy sharing, the Austrian startup eFriends revolutionized the energy market. They specifically developed a technology that enabled users to sell or give electricity to other consumers. So we started our collaboration with an analysis of existing positioning, the definition of goals and KPIs for media relations, agreeing on a communication strategy. With our measures, we were able to successfully position the company as an innovative startup and had broad media coverage about their revolutionary technology. So overall, I hope this mix of theoretical and practical examples gave you a good idea about strategic communication, about the possible tools you can use and how to use them. I wish you all the best. And if you have any questions, you can always contact me over the Ketchum Publico website. Thanks and goodbye.